Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 437 based on novel. So let's start. Remember, unless it is absolutely needed, don't use this spell. The old vermilion bird looked extremely serious. After he finished speaking, he took a deep breath and formed a strange seal with his hands. As the seal appeared, ethereal fire came from the old vermilion bird's eyebrows and entered the seal. This caused the seal to flash red, and they fused together to form a fire bone about 10 feet long. It might not be appropriate to call it a bone. It was like a stick, but it was very smooth. The moment this fire bone appeared, the old vermilion bird's eyes became serious. His hands formed more seals and thin lines began to appear. They didn't surround the fire bone but extended out from its tip. The object that was formed by the old vermilion bird spell looked rather strange. If you spread some oil paper between the lines, it would look extremely similar to the umbrellas used by mortals on rainy days. Wang Lin stared intently. He had seen the old vermilion bird create two different sets of seals. The first set was 999 seals in an instant. The second group was even more. He had created exactly 9,999 in a flash. Not a sliver of origin energy fluctuation was released, and the clouds hadn't scattered. The surroundings were extremely quiet. It was as if nothing had changed. After finishing the two sets of seals, the old vermilion bird became even more serious. He took a deep breath and his eyes revealed a strange light. Both his hands worked together to form seals. Then a light began to spread out in all directions, penetrating the lake. The old vermilion bird's hands moved faster, and without a pause, seals appeared one by one. 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, so fast that they became a blur to the eye. The old vermilion bird's hands were so fast, it was impossible to see them with the naked eye, and if one used divine sense, it would be stopped by a mysterious force. The old vermilion bird let out a roar. The number of seals in his hands had already reached over 1 million. The 1 million seals appeared at the same time and formed a storm. This storm charged at the fire bone. In a flash, the storm fused with the fire bone and shot into the sky. Wang Lin took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. His pupils immediately shrank. The storm seemed to have formed a large umbrella that hadn't opened. Large amounts of fire formed countless fire dragons around it. The entire sky was occupied by fire dragons. They surrounded the umbrella and roared. This could be clearly seen from every part of the great emperor planet. Burning realm ancient umbrella. The old vermilion bird let out a roar and the storm suddenly stopped rotating. It floated motionlessly in the air. An unspeakable pressure slowly descended from the sky. The vegetation bent and large amounts of water mist appeared. The fishes in the lake swam quickly and bubbles appeared on the furnace of the lake. Fine cracks appeared on the ground. All the cultivators that saw this felt like the blood in their bodies was about to dry up. The sky was covered in endless distortion, as if it couldn't withstand the storm. The distortion continued to spread until it covered almost half of the fallen land. All the planets that were shrouded in this showed signs that a great drought was coming. There were signs of the destruction that was to come. The old vermilion bird's breathing became a bit rough. It was obvious that it was a lot of stress on him to use this spell. The first group has 999 seals, the second group has 9,999 seals, and the third and fourth groups both have 990,000. You must form all these seals within 9 breaths of time. Each of the seals must contain your origin soul's yang energy. Then, with a special chant, you can form the strongest spell of my vermilion bird clan, Burning Realm Ancient Umbrella. If one mistake is made during any of the seals, the consequences will be unimaginable. Even with my mid-stage arcane void cultivation, I would still be seriously injured. If a non-fire cultivator made a mistake, they would likely die. This spell came from the ancient celestial sovereign. This old man once heard from the ancestor that back in the ancestor's hometown, the ancient celestial sovereign used this spell and destroyed an entire realm of 10 billion people. This is why it is called the Burning Realm. This was an extremely powerful spell in the hands of the ancient celestial sovereign. This old man doesn't know if this spell is a Dao spell, but the ancestor said that the umbrella could be opened 9 times, and a world would be destroyed each time. Back then, the ancient celestial sovereign opened the umbrella 8 times to destroy a realm. Not even he dared to open the umbrella a 9th time. The ancestor is at the early stage void turbulent and can only open it 5 times. As for this old man, due to my origin soul's yarn remaining intact after tens of thousands of years, I can use my own yarn to open it twice at the mid-stage of arcane void. I shouldn't be passing this spell to you, because it is too dangerous and one mistake would lead to disaster. The ancestor also said that the spell is incomplete as the ancient celestial emperor secretly learned this from someone else, but since your comprehension is so high, you can decide for yourself. The old vermilion bird's words echoed as Wang Lin stared at the umbrella in the sky. His mind was shaken by the old vermilion bird's words. He originally thought the old vermilion bird would pass him a Dao spell. He could never have expected to learn a spell that contained unimaginable power. Opening the umbrella 8 times can destroy a world with 10 billion people. Can this still be considered a spell? The old vermilion bird's breathing became even more rapid. He waved his hand and the storm that stopped trembled and began to dissipate. I can only let you see this and can't open it. If it were to open, it would cause great damage here. The old vermilion bird bit the top of his tongue and spat out blood containing his mid-stage arcane void cultivation toward the storm. The blood turned into a monstrous mist that fused with the storm and gradually made it disappear. It wasn't until 7 minutes later that the storm disappeared. The great emperor planet gradually returned to normal and the distortion also slowly recovered. Although this didn't last long, it had made Wang Lin's scalp go numb, and his eyes lit up. Although the spell hadn't been activated, Wang Lin had gotten a general feel for it. Wang Lin's heart was pounding. The old vermilion bird only relaxed when the world returned to normal. He waved his hand and a jade flew out from the void toward Wang Lin. This jade contains all the seals and the method to open the umbrella. Quickly memorize it, and once there are no mistakes, destroy the jade. After the old vermilion bird finished speaking, he sat down, closed his eyes, and began to cultivate. Wang Lin accepted the jade and stared at it. The scene of the old vermilion bird displaying the spell appeared in his mind. Wang Lin was tempted. In his lifetime, he was rarely tempted by spells or treasures. He had cultivated restrictions all his life and was a grandmaster at them. For ordinary people, forming nearly 2 million seals was a very difficult task. This was indeed the truth, and 9 breaths was too short. However, when Wang Lin was at the core formation stage, he was already used to forming seals very fast. Some restrictions could only be placed or broken in an instant, so large amounts of seals needed to be formed during a short period of time. The first threshold that most people faced was not that difficult for Wang Lin. What really shocked Wang Lin was what the old vermilion bird had revealed about the Burning Realm ancient umbrella. From the ancient celestial sovereign. So it is from the ancient celestial emperor who secretly learned it. It is not complete. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and there was a flash of terror in his eyes. If this sentence was true, then the meaning of it was simply too shocking. This spell. Who the hell created it? Where did the ancient celestial emperor secretly learn this? If just the stolen, incomplete spell is enough to destroy a realm, what if it was complete? Wang Lin raised his head and silently looked up at the sky. He faintly felt as if he was a mortal looking at the sky, and he felt very small. What does my current cultivation level count as? Just how big is this world? What is outside this world? After a moment, Wang Lin took a deep breath and determination filled his eyes. The more he knew, the smaller he felt, but Wang Lin didn't give up. Instead, it ignited the defying will in his heart. I can as well. I, Wang Lin, can as well. Why can't I, Wang Lin, do it as well? In the world, some people chose to be mortal, some became celestials, some were below others. All things were different. There were great injustices in this world, but at the same time, it was extremely fair. Since someone can create this kind of spell and cultivate to such an unimaginable degree, then I, Wang Lin, can do the same. Although my talent is lacking, it won't be able to become the stone that trips me. Today I learned the Burning Realm spell, which was created by someone else and was later stolen by the ancient Celestial Emperor. In the future, I want others to learn my spells. Wang Lin's expression was filled with determination. He didn't roar or cry, only his silent words echoed in his heart. Perhaps this was his ambition. Wang Lin closed his hands and his mind entered the jade. He engraved the countless seals in his mind, as well as the method for opening the umbrella. The jade turned into ashes in his hand and was blown away by the wind. The ashes that flew away represented Wang Lin's ambition as it flew higher and higher. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor was a third-step cultivator. Even though he was only at the early stage of Nirvana Void, he could make the heavens shake with a wave of his hand. He used spatial bending as he moved back to the Fire Sparrow clan headquarters rapidly with Liu Gene Bal. The ancestor stepped outside the main Fire Sparrow planet. His eyes were filled with ecstasy, and in a flash he flew toward the center of the planet that was surrounded by fire. He was too fast and instantly arrived at the place where he normally stayed in closed-door cultivation all the time. The temperature of the fire here was extremely terrifying, just one spark was enough to kill a cultivator. However, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor was perfectly fine and quickly approached while holding Liu Gene Bal. Liu Gene Bal's expression was as gloomy as water as he coldly looked at the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. He had completely forgotten his past and had deceived himself into believing that he was the sixth-generation vermilion bird. After holding power for so long, he had been captured by the Fire Sparrow clan. However, as the sixth-generation vermilion bird, he had his own pride. Even at the moment of life and death, he wouldn't beg for mercy. There was an illusory door deep within the sea of fire here. Ordinary people couldn't even take half a step inside. In addition, with the ancestor guarding it, this place was extremely well guarded. Although he had left, the door within the sea of fire had an extremely powerful restriction placed on it. This restriction wasn't placed down by him, but by his master. Even third-step cultivators would find it difficult to break inside in a short period of time. After arriving at the door, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor became excited and knelt down on the ground. This caused Liu Gene Bal's eyes to narrow. A third-step cultivator, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor, was kneeling before the door. Master, this old slave has captured the sixth-generation vermilion bird as a gift to Master to help Master's injury recover. Master. Liu Gene Bal's scalp went numb and his eyes were filled with shock. As he stared at the blurry gate, a monstrous wave was set off in his heart. Master of a third-step cultivator? This? The door was silent, and the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor remained kneeling. He waited for a long time and wasn't impatient at all, he remained respectful. The longer he stayed like this, the more shocked Liu Gene Bal became, and he showed signs of awakening from his Tao of deception. He was about to be scared awake. Sixth-generation vermilion bird. After a while, a blurry voice came out of the door. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor trembled and became even respectful. His eyes became excited and he quickly said, "This old slave has investigated thoroughly. I devoured his blood and searched his soul, so I can't be wrong. He is the sixth-generation vermilion bird. This old slave captured him in the fallen land." The voice seemed to silently ponder, and an invisible aura gradually spread out. This made Liu Gene Bal's body tremble, and the pride in his eyes dissipated and was replaced with endless fear. He was completely awakened due to fear. I've finally done it. I've finally gone too far. Liu Gene Bal felt his mouth go dry and his eyes filled with panic. He screamed madly in his heart, to have third-step cultivator as a slave, who the hell is this? That Wang Lin arranged for me to come here and said that he could save me, but even if he comes, I fear he would die. After a long moment of silence, that blurry voice came from the door once more. Send him in. Liu Gene Bal's body trembled and he was about to open his mouth to explain. However, the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor directly grabbed him and dragged him toward the door. All of this happened too fast. Before he could explain, he felt his body tremble and get dragged into the door by the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. The restrictions on the door seemed to be suppressed and didn't activate, allowing the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor to enter. After entering the door, what appeared before Liu Gene Bal was something he could never forget. This was a world without a sky or earth. The only thing that existed was a massive flame. The flame occupied 70% of this world, and it rumbled loudly. There were no stars around them, but lines as thick as one's arm branched across space. At a glance, they seemed to form a spider web. The fire was at the heart of the spider web. The spider web seemed to be tunnels, and things seemed to be moving within them toward the flame. The fire was seven-colored, without black and white. The seven-colored fire burned brightly, and a vague figure could be seen sitting inside. The figure was covered in armor, and there was a seven-colored vermilion bird flashing behind him. "You can leave," the blurry voice echoed in the sky as a ball of seven-colored fire the size of a fist flew toward the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. The fire went in between the eyebrows of the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor. The Fire Sparrow clan ancestor trembled and ecstasy filled his eyes. "Go cultivate and absorb this," the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor respectfully bowed and disappeared from this world. At this moment, only Liu Gene Bal and the figure inside the fire remained. Liu Gene Bal's body trembled. He could feel a suffocating pressure coming from the seven-colored fire the other person was sitting in. This pressure was enough to kill him millions of times. "You're not the sixth-generation vermilion bird," the blurry voice echoed and weighed upon Liu Gene Bal's mind. This made his scalp tingle and he lost his wits. Liu Gene Bal knelt on the ground, his eyes flooding with intense fear. Without hesitation, he immediately begged, "Lord Celestial, forgive me, Lord Celestial, forgive me. Junior Liu Gene Bal is merely a little cultivator and was forced by someone to come here. If I hadn't come, I would have died. I hope Lord Celestial will have mercy. This little one is willing to do his best to service Lord Celestial." The blurry voice interrupted Liu Gene Bal. "However, there is something that interests me on your body." Some of the countless branches moved and wrapped around Liu Gene Bal. In a flash, some broke through his flesh and began to absorb, causing Liu Gene Bal to scream miserably. His body rapidly withered as large amounts of blood were being sucked out and turned into bumps that moved within the branches toward the flame. Aside from his blood, his vitality was also rapidly being absorbed. Facing this moment of crisis, Liu Gene Bal let out a scream and spat out a mouthful of essence. The moment this mouthful of essence came out, a monstrous sword energy suddenly appeared. Shuligua appeared as a big sword, but he didn't stab toward the flame but turned into a sword storm. "Master, the passage has been opened." Shuligua was also scared out of his wits. After he appeared, he began to roar in his heart. "It is all that fiend's fault. He thought this holy place had fire essence, but instead there is a living person here. A living person who can make a third-step cultivator his slave." Interesting, the illusory voice seemed to smile as it echoed. On the great Emperor planet, Wang Lin closed his eyes and saw inside the transfer array. His mind entered the wind and rain realm, looking for the All-Seer's soul. He used with All-Seer's soul and quickly divinated the future. At this moment, his eyes suddenly opened, revealing a flash of killing intent. There was someone healing inside the holy land of the Fire Sparrow clan. Before he came to the fallen land, he wasn't sure, but after talking to the first-generation vermilion bird, he was sure there was someone inside. If he had given up the plan back then, it wouldn't have been impossible for Liu Gene Bal to come back even after he had been captured, but a crazy idea had appeared in Wang Lin's heart. The first-generation vermilion bird once said that the person healing in there was likely the traitorous third vermilion bird, and the first-generation ancestor hated that person a lot. If it wasn't for the fact that he was trapped in the fallen land, he would have slaughtered his way to the traitorous vermilion bird. Although he hadn't said it, he had told Wang Lin that he could assist in Wang Lin's plan and allow Wang Lin to enter the Fire Sparrow clan's holy land. He had also given Wang Lin a vermilion bird feather as a gift. All of this pointed to one problem. More importantly, the traitorous third vermilion bird had another identity in the ancient star system. In truth, Wang Lin had a guess, and he was 70% sure of it. No, it could even be said that he was 90% sure. 70% was enough for him to decide to do something heaven-shaking. Much less 90%. Once he did this, he was going to leave the ancient star system and return to the inner realm. He was injured by the first-generation vermilion bird and then was injured by that mysterious roar in the inner realm. In the end, he was forced to go into closed-door cultivation to heal for tens of thousands of years. However, he has secretly been controlling the scene. His daughter entered the inner realm to Liu Gene, destroy the celestial realm used to generate Joss flames, and combined the forces of several people to destroy the body of the Lord of the Sealed Realm. He has done whatever it took to tempt people who caught his attention in the inner realm, like Simon Mo, Qing Lin, and if I'm not wrong, even Qing Shui's madness must have something to do with this person. He has even used the viciousness of planting Dao. All of this is his doing. Now that he is seriously injured, I must take this opportunity. Madness appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. What he planned to do was already crazy anyway. The formation light flashed rapidly and thunderous rumbles echoed. The formation rotated until it formed a vortex, and with a bang, it disappeared from the great Emperor planet. Wang Lin's figure disappeared with it. The old vermilion bird sitting at the side of the lake opened his eyes. He silently looked at where Wang Lin disappeared for a long time and softly said, "First-generation ancestor, you still feel that he isn't someone of my vermilion bird clan? Even though he passed the trial. The disciple believes that he is. I have disobeyed your order and taught him the strongest vermilion bird clan skill without your permission. Because that's what he should have received after the trial was over." In the Fire Sparrow clan's holy land, Liu Gene Bal was entangled by countless threads, letting out mournful cries. Shuligua was scared out of his wits and constantly called Wang Lin. The figure inside the seven-colored flame didn't stop Shuligua and only said one word. "Interesting." Just as he spoke, a thunderous rumble came from within the sword storm Shuligua had created. It was as if a mighty force had come from the void and locked onto Shuligua's location. The mighty force ripped that storm open. As the storm rumbled, it was as two giant hands had penetrated the void and started ripping open a metal plate. Thunderous rumbles echoed as the storm collapsed after being ripped in half. When the storm collapsed, a giant rift appeared in the space here. There were flashes of thunder and monstrous fire. Wang Lin's figure walked out from the rift. With a head of white hair and white clothes, Wang Lin's eyes contained a vicious gaze. After he appeared, he looked at the figure inside the seven-colored flame. Sovereign. The seven-colored flame burned brightly and the figure inside seemed to open his eyes. Two ancient gazes landed on Wang Lin. "I remember that your name is Wang Lin." A blurry voice echoed in the world. "I am." Wang Lin didn't hide his identity, and his expression became even more vicious. He waved his right hand and the thunder tattoo and nine-colored fire flew out toward Shuligua, taking him back into Wang Lin's storage space. As the thunder tattoo rumbled, it closed in on Liu Gene Bal along with the nine-colored fire. They formed a giant hand that pulled Liu Gene Bal away from those countless branches and placed him inside Wang Lin's storage space. The figure inside the seven-colored flame didn't stop Wang Lin. "Very good. This lord sees in you Qing Lin, Qing Shui, and even Simon Mo. You knew I was here and yet you dared to come. It must be the old vermilion bird that gave you the courage. Or perhaps you thought that I have been seriously injured for so long, and your intention is to check if I still haven't recovered and it is." There was a flash of killing intent in Wang Lin's eyes and his expression became even more vicious. He took a step forward and charged at the seven-colored flame. The nine-colored fire in his left eye rushed out and formed a nine-colored ethereal fire that bombarded the seven-colored flame. Thunder flashed in this right eye and the thunder tattoo appeared. The nine accompanying thunders turned into nine ancient thunder dragons. There was a faint crack on the thunder essence, and it led to the ancient thunder realm. His left hand formed a seal and he pointed at the sky. In an instant, the fragrance of grass filled the world. The phantoms of countless trees appeared and the ancient forest spirit sat up. It let out a roar and pounced at the seven-colored flame. A monstrous bloodlight howled, and with a point of Wang Lin's finger, it charged toward the seven-colored flame. As Wang Lin formed a seal, his entire cultivation erupted and formed a shockwave that closed in on the seven-colored flame. All of this happened in a flash. It was fast beyond imagination. In a flash, Wang Lin had used all his spells and treasures to launch an attack on the seven-colored flame. The figure inside the seven-colored flame laughed. His laughter was filled with desolation. Your judgment is right, this lord is seriously injured and hasn't healed. However, you have brought the heaven-defying bead here, giving me the hope of recovery. The figure raised his right hand, but his right arm was blurry. However, it was possible to see it as the right arm was covered in armor. This lord has cultivated for a long time, and many people hate me, but none of them have killed me. Instead, they have been killed me. You're excellent, but you're not qualified. This lord will only use one spell. The figure inside the seven-colored flame raised his right hand and reached at the sky. This world can be viewed as a well. After he spoke, the entire world trembled and ripples appeared down below. Water vapor spread. In the blink of an eye, an unimaginable force spread out across this world and water appeared. If one looked from above, they would clearly see that this water was a well. Everything is inside the well. All your spells, treasures, and even your body exist in the well. The space that had become the water gradually calmed down and the ripples disappeared. When the ripples disappeared, the surface of the water reflected everything above it. The water reflected Wang Lin's firestorm, his eternal thunder, the ancient forest spirit. It also reflected Wang Lin's dazzling figure in the middle. If someone else saw this, they would be extremely shocked. The water reflected everything beside the seven-colored flame. At a glance, it was impossible to tell which was the reflection and which was real. At this moment, Wang Lin's body suddenly stopped in the air. Not only did his body stop, but all his spells and treasures stopped in the air with him. It was as if all of their souls had been taken by the surface of the water. Wang Lin clearly felt that the figure inside the surface of the water was himself. This is a very mysterious feeling, but it was extremely realistic. This Lord's spell is called Fishing the Moon in the Well. There was no moon inside the well, and even if it were to appear, it would merely be a reflection. However, this simple reflection was turned into a heaven-shaking spell due to the words of the figure inside the seven-colored flame. Fishing the moon in the well. The figure inside the seven-colored flame lowered his right hand and causally reached out. The water below him rippled and Wang Lin's reflection inside the water was fished up. What was picked up wasn't water, but a struggling Wang Lin. Only this Wang Lin's eyes were ferocious. Wang Lin's mind focused. This old man thinks that the moon inside the well is very beautiful, so I wanted one. Now I have one. The figure inside the seven-colored flame withdrew his right hand with Wang Lin in his grip. He is you. The seven-colored flame burned brightly and suddenly spread out, revealing the figure inside, as well as his appearance. A pale-faced but extremely calm middle-aged man. This man was very handsome and had the air of a celestial. Instead of looking at Wang Lin, he calmly looked at the Wang Lin he had caught in the well. Watch, killing you is actually very easy. The middle-aged man was wearing a suit of grey armor. This armor was very strange, as if it was growing from his body, it couldn't be distinguished from his body. Fishing the moon in the well, what it fished was the soul. It looks like you're really seriously injured, Wang Lin said slowly, and at this moment, he no longer revealed that tyrannical expression he had before but was calm. The eyes of the middle-aged man that had picked up Wang Lin from the water shined. Under his spell, all those that were reflected would lose their physical ability and would not be able to speak. However, Wang Lin's words had clearly entered his ears. Just after Wang Lin spoke, he took a step forward and waved his right hand. The feather of a vermilion bird appeared in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the feather gave off a monstrous fire and immediately shrouded the sky. At a glance, the sky became a sea of fire. Thunderous rumbles echoed like crazy, and the fire in the sky seemed to be raging as it burned violently. The middle-aged man viciously squeezed his hand and the Wang Lin he was holding let out a miserable scream. The Wang Lin in his hand crumbled and died. Wang Lin trembled and his face turned pale, but he didn't stop. He raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. He began to roar the chant the first-generation Vermilion bird had given him. I'm the sixth-generation Vermilion bird. I am using this Vermilion bird feather to summon my Vermilion bird clan's origin spirit to descend from the ancient realm. The world rumbled, and the moment Wang Lin's words echoed, the middle-aged man suddenly stood up. His eyes lit up and an indifferent voice echoed. This old man has indeed underestimated you. You have prepared thoroughly before coming here. You've replaced your original body with a devil soul. Good, good. Wang Lin remained silent. Before coming here, he had fused with the All-Seer's soul and began divinating like crazy. Just like when he battled Daoist water, he saw a blurry scene. This scene was a life and death crisis, and it was related to the soul. Wang Lin had spent his entire life facing dangers and had lived through them all due to his caution. Since he was daring to scheme against the seriously injured sovereign, he naturally had to come fully prepared. He had even prepared a lot of paths of retreat. In order to make sure nothing went wrong, he had erased the consciousness of his ancient devil soul and had replaced his own soul with it, allowing it to become the soul of his original body. The fishing the moon in the well spell was extremely tyrannical, and its power was shocking. However, the soul it had fished out was the ancient devil soul, not Wang Lin's soul. Only Wang Lin, who was an ancient god, could replace his soul with the ancient devil soul. If it was anyone else, it wouldn't have been possible. Even if their cultivation level was higher, they would still collapse under this spell, and the replacement would be noticed. However, ancient devils and ancient gods came from the same origin, so they could perfectly replace each other. In addition, it was also partially due to the sovereign being seriously injured and underestimating Wang Lin's strength. Otherwise, Wang Lin wouldn't have succeeded. However, even if it failed, Wang Lin had backup plans prepared, or else he wouldn't have recklessly come here. This video will end here.